knowing how to tell a story, but not having a story to tell.
Looking at your body of work, you seem like you have a fearlessness to you. Where does this come from?
I mean, I know we've talked about travel a little bit, but probably travel, you know? I think that when you're just so used to kind of your own rhythm all the time, new things are just so scary. And I think when you develop a muscle to inviting scary into your life, it's infectious, you know? You can get addicted to it, and I'm definitely addicted to it. Sometimes I'll sit and be upset that I haven't, shocked myself this month or this week or even today. And I think that's important. I think that's important for sure.
When you say shocked yourself, do you think is it really putting yourself in harm's way, or you just want to be around interesting scenarios?
It's a thin line, putting yourself in harm's way and interesting scenarios, because they oftentimes correlate. But I think something I've been thinking about as I get older, because in my early 20s, harm's way was the goal, I think, whether it was skydiving or, traveling or talking to the sketchiest person who might be in the cartel or something. As I get older, I ask myself, what is the non-kill yourself version of that? And I haven't quite come up with the answer, but I think part of it is just listening to, asking yourself who you're ignoring in the world. You oftentimes walk through your life and you're just hyper-focused on one group of people or one personality or one kind of goal. And it's really, really easy just to let everything else fade away. And I think that goes hand in hand too with what you want in the world, where it's like, if you're super uber specific about what you want, you're gonna start seeing more of it. And the same goes with people as well, and stories and situations, where it's like, if you really try to shatter that as often as possible, you can redefine the stories you tell, you can redefine the person that you are every day if you want, if you're good at it.
I grew up around a lot of people that were either very sheltered and came from maybe more of a comfortable background, and also grew up around a lot of people that weren't sheltered at all and had a lot of freedom, didn't have a curfew, didn't have to be home at a certain time, or parents didn't really care where they were. I find that a lot of people in that category, they're not as afraid because they've been in so many situations, especially as a young person, and that was kind of my route as well. Do you find that you connect with people like that? You said you talked to somebody. I mean, I used to take photos sometimes of just interesting people in the town that seemed like, who knew what they were into. Yeah. But there was a fearlessness there because no one told me, don't do that, or do you think that's where it comes from? Is you kind of were on your own from a young age?
I would say so. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's a miracle I'm alive, but...
That's good. Yeah. The miracle's in front of us. That's good. Yes. Okay.
A walking miracle, I call myself.
Okay.
Just kidding. I do think that a looser leash when you grow up, you can see that in a lot of people, parents kind of letting people run through the night. There's a wildness that kind of bakes into you. But I also have groups of friends who come from the opposite side of that. One of my closest friends in high school, he was a wild kid, and as was I, where I came from the other side of that spectrum, to where, I'll leave it at that. But yeah, I'm attracted to those kinds of people for sure, and I don't think it's exclusive in how you grow up, but I often find that there's always a cause to that effect for sure. And I feel like the wildest people are oftentimes the most, probably the most open, that kind of skill I was talking about of just being sort of alert, you know what I mean? They're kind of sometimes like moths to a flame in a weird way. And maybe that's sort of the answer for me as I grow older, where now I'm looking for me when I was like 20, like that spirit. Just to just to either look back on or learn from, and I don't know, be infected by. Yeah.
Are you critical of yourself?
Yes. Although it's a hard muscle to deal with, I think, when you're critical with yourself, because you also need, at least I feel like I need to also be the biggest champion of myself. So there's those competing, it almost feels bipolar sometimes in a way, where one day, you're not enough, and the next day they don't know that you're everything. And neither are true, I oftentimes find. But that marriage is a good dance. And I think that's where stoicism kind of comes in, where you just have to be like, okay, I am nothing for a little bit, and let me just coast on peace.
One of the things we're hearing a lot from life coaches and gurus right now is like the quote, do the hard things first. And it's actually a good rule. If you were to give advice to a filmmaker, what would you tell them about doing the hard things first? Whether it's pre-production, actually filming, what is it, do the hard things first as an artist?
That's a good question. Doing the hard things first as a young filmmaker are oftentimes, for me, when I was younger, I was so obsessed with craft. Like, I learned filmmaking on YouTube when I was really young. When I was like 11 years old, when YouTube like just sort of started becoming a thing, I was learning editing, and the hard thing for me was the craft of like how to put these things together. But those things become a lot less hard over time with practice. And then I found myself getting caught up in just knowing the craft and not really knowing how to tell a story, but not having a story to tell. And what I mean by that is I sort of locked myself in a room and then stopped sort of living life at a certain point when I like just became an adult. I had kind of a crazy childhood, so I was all over the place, but I remember when I told myself I was going to be, storytelling is what I do. I'm going to do that for the rest of my life, and this is my profession. I realized that I got really serious about everything. I got really serious about filmmaking, really serious about storytelling and acting and directing, writing, it all. And that can kill the life of story. I think it's important to not take yourself too seriously, not take storytelling so seriously. I was actually on set of this studio movie, and this other actor who works a lot, who's sort of similar age as me, he just sat back and was like, "Do you care about acting?" And I was so taken aback by it. I was so taken aback where I was like, yeah, of course. I was like, I'm the most serious person I know, or at least I was. And then I realized, just because of navigating the industry and just realizing that it's all gonna be okay, no matter what, I kind of let my guard down a little bit, and I started having more fun in storytelling, and that unlocked everything for me. I really, really believe you cannot take storytelling seriously, but you can also be a super hard worker and know your craft, etc. And those two things together are really powerful, because you kind of let go of a lot of fear over here, and then you match that with skill. And I think that's a really interesting combo.
Do you think he was trying to be helpful, or was he doing like a power move, like where he was going to kind of like put you on your toes and then own you a little bit? You know how some people might do in LA?
Yeah. That's an interesting question. I'm not really sure.
Okay, sorry.
I think part of me thought he was genuinely curious, and that he probably doesn't agree with how I move.
Okay, so it was a fair question. All right.
Yeah, it was a fair question.
There was no agenda behind it.
But
right?
it honestly made me, it was an important moment where that was like a year and a half ago, and I still think about it, where I'm like, wow, like my first reaction was like, oh my God, I don't want to come across as not, like, I don't take this seriously. And then I was like, I actually do. I do want to come across like, this is all fun and amazing. Like, show up on time, do your work, but have that wonder, have that adventure, have that fire, have that like almost erratic, exciting behavior that's going to stop somebody in your work and be like, you know, it's going to interrupt their pattern and make you lean closer. I feel like if you're so serious and on the dot every single time, it's really easy to expect what's going to happen next. So I feel like just an ounce of chaos is important. And to me, it's not taking life or storytelling or anything really too seriously.
Thank you for watching the video all the way to the end. Here is a complimentary question from our book Story Questions.